bass gets me every time.
It's so good.
Man, I wish I could play the bass. Well, anyway, welcome to another episode of Music is the Glue podcast. I'm Smitty, and my co-host is my man, Tony.
Hello, hello, hello.
Tony, what's up, my guy?
Good to see you, man. Springtime in Nashville, which means it's a high of 80 one day and a high of 45 the next.
Right.
Just, good times.
I'm in Chicago, so, it's day to day here. Sleet, snow one day and 65 the next.
The beautiful Midwest.
Yeah. How was your week?
Good, man. Good. I'm, just clicking along. I've spent most of my time working on these podcasts and then the music stuff that we do for our separate Instagram accounts. I mean, we're busy guys, and then you have like an actual real job, which I don't. And that's, you would think that I don't know what's going to happen if I ever get a gig. But anyway, great to be back here, though. This is the highlight of every 2 weeks for us, is getting together and talking about
Absolutely.
music. We love it. We love music. We think that music is the glue that keeps us together.
Yeah.
People can argue about a lot of things, but man, you be in a room, put on some great music. Suddenly the vibe,
all that goes out the window.
Yeah, it just gets better. And
absolutely,
we also we started this podcast because we believe that in a world full of tensions between different cultures and races and everything else, you can find a way to get along. And if music can start that conversation, let that be the thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and I want to say thank you to everybody who's watching or listening right now. And if you've watched or listened to any of our other episodes, I appreciate you. Me and Tony both appreciate you. Leave your comments, leave your likes, share, please. This podcast is only going to get better with time. We're new at this. Well, at least I am. The podcast.
Yeah, well, I mean, but it's new. It's a new team, and a little background. If you didn't watch our first episode where we kind of introduced ourselves, I was in radio for 36 years, and for like 30 of that, I worked with the same guy, and we were a team. So this is really exceptionally fun, but foreign to me, because I'm now doing something similar, except with a new guy.
Right.
And it's just a blast. So we're having a lot of fun doing it. And as Smitty said, it'll get better and smoother as we go. Our chemistry is there. We're just kind of mastering how we do the show.
And for my background, I have absolutely no time in radio. Absolutely none. Just a guy in his little spare bedroom playing music. That's all I got.
Nothing wrong with that.
Hey. It is what it is.
Well, again, music is the glue. What brought us together?
Glue, baby.
That's what brought us together. Music,
right?
Two music accounts, two guys who love music, and found a way to talk about that and say, well, wait a second here. Why don't we talk about this together? Yeah. So we're thrilled to have you. Thrilled to have you.
So today, for our deep dive, I'm super excited. I've been looking forward to this. Anybody that knows me or anybody that's followed, my other page, Smitty's Soul Shack. If you don't follow, go ahead and follow that. Smitty's Soul Shack. You probably know my favorite hip-hop group, who I think is the best hip-hop group of all time. We're talking about them today.
They released their debut album this week back in the day, and man, what a groundbreaking album it was.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
I'm excited to hear you talk about them. I mean, I've got some tidbits as well and a little backstory of how I got into them, but I know how much you love these guys, and so I'm excited to hear you talk about it, because I know you're going to have some great stuff. And it's always fun to hear people who are passionate about a particular act talk about that act. So
we're going to dive into one of the most influential hip hop groups of all time, A Tribe Called Quest.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Coming in just a few minutes. But as you know, if you have listened to episodes or watched episodes, we love to get into our record collection, and we're doing it one letter at a time.
Yes.
And it's not nearly as tedious as it sounds. It's Tony and Smitty's A to Z. And each week we each pull a record from our collection where the artist name starts with, or the last name if it's a person, or the band name with that particular letter. And we are up to D this week. So Smitty, who's your D?
All right. So my D is, now it could be last name, first name, name of a group or whatever. I'm going with the first name, and his name is Donnie, Mr. Donnie Hathaway.
Yes.
Mr. Donnie Hathaway. I always joke, when I die and if I get my life together, I'll go to heaven. But when I get there, I want Luther Vandross to be at the gates singing a welcome song, whatever that may be. But I want him to be singing a duet with Donnie Hathaway. Two of the best voices in music history, in my opinion. Argue with your mama. I'm going with Donnie and Luther. I'm going with Donnie Hathaway. And this particular album, I kind of cheated. I'm going with Now Playing, which is pretty much a best of Donnie Hathaway. This album is absolutely amazing. I mean, I listen to it and I love it, but I get kind of depressed when I hear it sometimes, just to know his life was cut short. Just to think what he could have done in the music industry and the music he could have left us. He left us a nice amount, but just he has so much more to give. He was born actually here in Chicago in 1945. He was raised in St. Louis, Missouri. His grandmother was a professional gospel singer. So again, I always say this, like many of our soul and R&B greats, they started in the church.
Mm-hmm.
I think, that's another topic for another day, but I think that's the issue with today's R&B. I think people don't start in the church anymore. Not saying that there aren't any talented R&B singers, because there definitely is, but I don't know, something about those church-grown singers, I don't know. Maybe I'm showing my age. But yeah, anyway, Donnie attended Howard University on a scholarship, fine arts scholarship. He studied music theory. He was considered a prodigy in the piano at an early age. This album, again, now playing, it's got some of his greats. The Ghetto Part 1, amazing song. And of course, everybody I know, their favorite Christmas song, This Christmas. Many have sang it before or after him, but Donny Hathaway, This Christmas. And then A Song for You, released in 1971. Such a beautiful song. Such a beautiful song. Again, he had his challenges. He faced mental health issues. He was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia, which, it led to periods of hospitalization. But Donny Hathaway, his voice is just amazing. If you're having problems, you're having a bad day, just put on some Donny. You'll feel so much better, I promise. But yeah, that's my.
Not only is music the glue, music can be the medicine as well.
Definitely. If you don't have this, please go get it. Donny Hathaway now playing.
I don't have that, and I will go get it.
You got to get it, Tony.
I'm gonna get.
I'll get it for you. How about that? I'll get it for you.
Does he sing? Maybe I'm getting my guys confused. Who sings the song? Nuts! I can't think of the name of it. It's they used it in American Gangster with Denzel Washington. And they used it in Jackie Brown too. Hang on a second. Oh, I got my wrong bodies. I'm thinking about Bobby Womack. Okay.
Okay.
Across 110th Street is what I was thinking about.
Bobby Womack. That's the story right there. We got to get into one episode.
I was going to say, and I always get those guys confused. I don't know why I shouldn't, and that's disrespectful to both of them.
Please do not put Donny Hathaway in the same sentence as Bobby Womack.
I know. I'm sorry. It's totally different
guy. Donny was a good guy.
Yeah.
Bobby, not so much.
Yeah, no.
Good music, but not so much of a good guy.
Yeah, no. Okay. His story sticks in my head, and that's okay. My apologies.
Yeah, that's okay. We'll let it slide this time, Tony.
Okay, just the once. I mean, we can't always get along. I mean, we're going to have some fights. Otherwise, people don't get it.
Yeah.
I think we may be having our first one right now.
Keeps it interesting.
Okay.
Mentioning Bobby Womack in the same sense as Donny Hathaway. What's wrong with you, man?
A lot.
Damn mind.
We don't have enough time to talk about what's wrong with me. Okay, so my D, this is a band I had not heard of them, and I didn't know their first couple of albums, and I honestly don't remember how I first heard these guys.
Okay.
Which is weird because when I think about it, one of my best friends back in San Diego, he was a giant music lover like we are. And we had competing CD collections. I mean, we both had huge CD collections, but he introduced me to so much music that I did not know. And it was rare that I could introduce him to a band that he didn't know.
Okay.
And somehow I had found these guys with this record, and I said, hey, you got to listen to these guys. And he was like, oh my God, this is epic. It's incredible. The album is considered their magnum opus. Like, this is the one. And they've made they're prolific. They made a bunch of records after this. But I don't think that any of them got the attention that this one got. And so I'm talking about a band called the Drive-By Truckers. And the album is called Southern Rock Opera.
Yeah, Drive-By Truckers. Yeah. I don't know that one.
Yeah. I'm trying to say, there is no way in hell you know this band.
Drive-By Truckers.
If you had known who these guys were.
Hey, listen, I love the name, though.
Yeah, no, it's great. And Drive-By Truckers. These are just this record. So it's their third album, and it's generally considered to be, like, again, their masterpiece. And it started out as basically a conversation between the lead, kind of the founder of the band. He's their lead singer. They have a few lead singers, but he's the main guy, main songwriter. And he and the bassist, what are you doing?
Drive-By Truckers. I got to look this up.
Okay, yeah. They were on a road trip. The bassist was moving, and they were in a U-Haul truck, and it didn't have a radio. And so they started, you got a long road trip, you start talking about weird shit. And they started coming up with an idea that they thought maybe for a screenplay. And that's where this came from. And it was basically a mythology surrounding a fictitious rock band that was kind of loosely inspired by stories that Patterson Hood, who's the singer, knew from his growing up in Muscle Shoals, Alabama. He's from a small town in Alabama. And of course, Muscle Shoals famous for the Muscle Shoals sound, the recording studio there. and then also close friends who had worked with Leonard Skinner in the early days. And they put this thing together, but then they put it on the back burner because they were working on their first couple of albums. Pizza Deliverance and Gangsta Billy, I think, were the name of the
These
first
names, man.
I know, they're an interesting band.
These names. Pizza
So
Delivery?
after they
I like it.
Yeah, after they did those first albums, they came back and said, why don't we try to build that screenplay idea into a record and turn it into a kind of a Southern rock opera. So they weave these stories, the history of Leonard Skinner, into a narrative about this fictitious rock band called Betamax Guillotine. And the story unfolds in the context of the South during the 1970s. It's got 20 tracks. It's 90 minutes, double album, but it's so good. And what I love about this record, I love a lot of things about it. One song is just, kick-ass rock. The thing that opens is Ronnie and Neil. And it's about Ronnie Van Zant and Neil Young and the supposed feud between these two guys. Because when Neil Young wrote Southern Man, and then Leonard Skinner wrote, we don't, Southern Man don't need him around anyhow. I'm talking about Neil. So everybody thought, oh, they hate each other. But they really didn't. They respected each other very much. But the song is just this kick-ass rock song. It opens with a dual guitar. It's like, wow. And then they'll go to another song that's just super country. But for me, the best song on this album, and when we're done here, I promise to get my story straight on Donny Hathaway and Bobby Womack. You have to promise to listen to this. It's called The Three Great Alabama Icons.
I'll write it in my handy dandy notebook here.
What
is it again?
It's called The Three Great Alabama Icons. And what's wild about this is there's a kind of a groove underneath it, but it's just Patterson Hood telling a story. He's talking. There's no singing. But it's factual, and it's basically him telling the story of what is considered the three great Alabama icons. Bear Bryant, who used to coach the University of Alabama back in the day, legendary coach.
Yes.
George Wallace, who has quite a history.
Yeah.
And then he talks about Ronnie Van Zant, who's not from Alabama, but because of Sweet Home Alabama. But it's a fascinating conversation, and him talking about the history and about racism and all this kind of stuff. So highly recommend.
Well, I'm definitely going to check it out.
It's an interesting band. Again, real cool mix of rock and country. And it just, yeah.
Let me ask you this, Tony. Maybe you can clear this up for people who may be thinking the same thing as me.
Okay.
Now, I'll be honest again. I never heard of this group, but you mentioned, Southern rock. You mentioned Leonard Skinner, and what stands out in my mind is the Leonard Skinner album cover with the big Confederate flag on it. Is that okay? So when I think of Southern rock, I automatically think racism.
Mm-hmm.
Now, was that is Southern rock? Is a lot of their music kind of? Am I wrong, or am I?
Look, I can't tell you the beliefs necessarily of everybody who's in a Southern rock band, but I can tell you that a lot of bands that are Southern rock, they don't use that imagery. Like, look at a band like 38 Special.
Okay, I know them.
They've never used any kind of imagery like that.
Okay.
None of that. Their music, and though they are considered Southern rock, I find that they are not as Southern rock as like Leonard Skinner.
Okay.
And I don't think those guys were. I don't know, because it's hard. You're right. When you see that image of that flag, it's hard to ignore. But I know that for a long time that was the thing for these guys. I don't get it.
Yeah, I definitely don't get it.
Don't even get used. I'm serious. Where do I get off saying that? But it's true. I don't understand. I don't understand that at all.
Yeah.
So I think they use that imagery to kind of beef up that feeling of Southern rock. But for their Leonard Skinner's from Florida.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah. So
I automatically assumed they were from Alabama.
No, they're from Florida.
Okay, I hear the
or at least that's where the band. Yeah, that's where the band formed. I don't know if every member of that band is from Florida, but I'm pretty sure. Okay. I think they formed in like Gainesville or something. Could be talking out of my ass here. I'm floating out things that I think are correct, but could be wrong. Yeah. So it's a good question. It's a fair question. Yeah, but like Molly Hatchet, that's another Southern rock band. I don't think I don't think they've ever used that imagery. They had really cool. I always wanted to like them. I'm not a big fan of their music.
Okay.
But I loved the art on their album covers.
Yeah.
Which was just really different and cool. But yeah, generally speaking, I don't know. I can't answer that question.
I was just curious because, like I said, the first thing I think when you say Southern rock is mother suckers.
All right.
But, okay.
That turned into something there. That A to Z had a lot going on.
I didn't mean to take the dark turn.
No. Hey, man, that's what I love about this.
I wanted to know.
Yeah, I'm sure there are people who could answer that better. I don't have. I'm not well versed in Southern rock. I like the first layer of that stuff. I like the hits of Leonard Skinner. I don't have. I have their greatest hits. That's all I own by them. I'm just not a huge fan of their stuff. And then I love 38 Special. I've got a lot of their stuff. I think those guys, again, they're, while called Southern rock, it definitely doesn't. It doesn't do. They had that same vibe. These guys, Drive By Truckers, a more modern band. I mean, these are guys from the South, Alabama, Georgia, that area, and their music is just. I love it. And in fact, have you ever heard?
Check it out.
Have you ever heard of Jason Isbell? He is
that name sounds a little familiar.
Okay, well, he's a very hot, what they call Americana artist now, because he's not country because he doesn't get played on country radio, but he definitely has that vibe. And man, he was a member of this band for a couple of albums, and the songs that he contributed to the band were remarkable. And he's a great musician. So I highly recommend checking his music out as well. If you're into that kind of stuff.
Hold on. Anyway. Handy dandy notebook. What's his name again?
Jason Isbell. Isbell.
Simple enough. Okay.
Yeah. He's got some great ones. He's got a band. So he's got some albums where it's with his band, and then he's got some where it's just him by himself. But it's all great. He's got
open, Tony. I'm open.
I know you are.
Anything.
I know you will.
Yeah.
That's why we're here. All right. If I had a drum, I would play a drum roll because now it is the time. Look at you.
I'm always ready.
Wow. Now I just want to say some weird stuff and see if you have the sound of it. That was awesome. Okay. We're getting into our deep dive, and this is one that Smitty has been super excited about. I'm going to kind of hang back and let you take the lead here because I know this is a huge fan talking about these guys. And so I'll turn it over to you, my man.
Okay. So as we mentioned before, we're talking about the greatest rap group of all time, in my opinion, and their debut release. Again, if you're a hip hop fan and you don't have this, shame on you.
A lot of finger pointing going on with Smitty today. Calling people out.
I know. I shouldn't judge, But if you are a fan of good music and you like hip hop, please go grab this.
You will not be sorry.
Okay, so we're going to talk about how this group even formed before we get to their debut. So they formed in 1985 in Queens, New York. The original members, Q-Tip, he was a rapper, producer. He was the visionary for the group. Yeah, Phife Dawg, Ali Shaheed Muhammad, and Jarobi White. Q-Tip and Phife Dawg were childhood friends. They grew up in St. Albans, Queens. Q-Tip attended a high school in Manhattan where he met DJ Ali Shaheed Muhammad. The name A Tribe Called Quest is actually given to them by a gentleman from another legendary rap group, the Jungle Brothers, Africa Baby Bam. Yeah, so if you don't know the Jungle Brothers, that's another group you should go check out.
For sure.
Yeah, they actually became a legendary part of the group, Native Tongues Collective. It was the Jungle Brothers, De La Soul, who is my second favorite rap group of all time. They were Afrocentric and conscious hip hop with jazz influences. That's how they were labeled back then. So again, their debut album came out.
Well, I'm sorry, wasn't Queen Latifah part of that collective as well before she got really big?
Yeah, she joined it a little later, but originally I think it was those guys. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, Queen Latifah joined a little later, but yeah, and I love her too, by the way.
Yeah.
So, People's Instinctive Travels and the Paths of Rhythm. That's a mouthful, I know. But it's a classic. 1990. April 10th, 1990 is when it was released on Jive Records. Some of the notable songs from that are, of course, Bonita Applebum, I Left My Wallet in El Segundo.
That's one of my favorites.
And one of my absolute favorite songs in hip-hop history, Can I Kick It? I can hear it now. I want to hear it now. Anyways.
We have to take a break real quick, guys. You got to go put on Tribe Called Quest.
So being the jazz, I was a jazz fan from an early age, thanks to my grandfather. So when I heard this group, Tony, I was immediately drawn to them. I was like, this is something I've never heard. I had been used to it. I was a big rap fan at the time. I had been used to the what we call boom bap sound, which most of the rap songs back then had, which I still love the boom bap sound, but this was totally different. We really hadn't heard anything like this before then. So
again, you think about the bands that were big in 1990. I mean, you got Public Enemy, Ice Cube, KRS-One. I mean, these guys all putting out that hardcore, I don't want to say violent, but it was definitely more masculine. Like we're talking about all this tough stuff. And then these guys come in with something that sounds so different.
Oh my gosh.
It blasts. So it comes out of your speakers and you're like, what am I hearing right now?
Yeah. Yeah. So it was like a laid back jazzy sound. It was something hip hop really wasn't used to. They hadn't heard it before. So the album was largely produced by the great Q-Tip, who is an absolute genius. And I don't like to throw that word around loosely. He sampled jazz, funk, soul records. He did a little of everything. So I think their first single was Bonita Applebum, and it's like a hip hop love song. and it's got one of the most recognizable beats in hip hop history. I left my wallet at El Segundo again. I never knew El Segundo was a real place. I used to hear it all the time on Sanford and Son. Fred used to always talk about El Segundo, and I never knew it was a real place. But yeah,
Oh, yeah.
it's a real place.
Absolutely. I remember the first time I was driving through LA when I saw that sign. I was like, oh.
You're right,
Yeah.
right. So one thing, like I said, one thing about this album that stood out, it wasn't like early hip hop records. It didn't rely on the heavy drum machines, the heavy bass. Q-Tip was definitely digging into the crates to look for these samples, these great jazz albums. So on this first one of my favorite rappers, Phife Dawg, he really wasn't on the album too much, which I hate that, but it was still a classic. I think at the time he really didn't take rap serious, he said. So Q-Tip handled most of the lyrics, which was okay, because it was great. And Phife Dawg did rap. He left his mark, definitely. Interesting things about this album, the song "Can I Kick It," which was huge, and I love that song to this day. You would think they made a fortune off this song, but they didn't make a dime. If you listen to the song, you probably recognize the music from a gentleman, Lou Reed, who sang a song called, what is it, Tony?
Walk on the Wild Side. I mean, you're in my world now. Lou Reed was a founding member of the punk band Velvet Underground back in the day. I didn't know that. Yeah, and a real weirdo. There's a lot of stories. I mean, there's some stories about him. I read a book called Please Kill Me, The Oral History of Punk in New York.
Yeah.
And this guy, not my kind of guy. And not a very good voice. He's not much of a singer, but he found a way.
That song, yeah.
Yeah, but he found a way to make it work. And I mean, and that groove. I mean, when I hear that groove start from that song, there was a time when I'm like, oh, I like Walk on the Wild Side. Now when I hear that, I'm like, oh, I hope this is a Tribe Called Quest and not Lou Reed. So yeah, it's a great groove.
Yeah. I think, speaking of that song, I think Marky Mark redid that song. He used that song too.
Yeah.
So the guy actually made some good money from the song.
Yeah.
I don't know where he is now, but he can thank rap music for a lot of his money. And even though this album really wasn't a huge commercial success at first, it took a little while to pick up traction. Real hip hop bands appreciated it. But as far as commercial wise, nah, it didn't do well. But it did pave the way for the next two classic albums, The Low End Theory in 1991 and Midnight Marauders, which I think is the greatest rap album of all time, released in 1993.
Strong statement there. Going back to people not getting it, I read a thing, a Rolling Stone writer, I don't know his name, they didn't mention it in this particular article, but he called the record one of the least danceable rap albums ever and said it was impossible to imagine how people would put this music to use.
Yeah, that's what we call a head nodder. You just listen and you just nod your head and just vibe. Yeah.
But you think about the fact that Q-Tip started putting this together when he was in 10th grade.
Yeah.
And that makes it all the more incredible how talented this guy was. I mean, my gosh.
So crazy.
Earlier I said my little story of my history. So this is a group I had not really. So in the 90s, I wasn't listening to a lot of hip hop. I mean, the stuff I heard was, I think basic stuff. A lot of the hip hop I was hearing was on Tony Hawk Pro Skater, which was more.
Man, that was a great game with a great soundtrack.
Great soundtracks. That's right. That's where I first heard Public Enemy. I was like, oh, okay, I like this. These guys are great. This is my wife. Got to give it shout out to my beautiful wife. She bought one of their records, and she was like, you'll love these guys. I said, okay. She knew how much I love jazz, and so we put it on. And I'm a grown man when I first listened. I don't think it's not. I could have heard their music when I was younger and just didn't know what I was listening to.
Okay.
But I don't think I did. I think this was a very, very, very late discovery for me. And I got to hear it on vinyl and I was like, whoa, this is so different from anything else I've heard. And then, that kind of led me down the path, De La Soul, Diggable Planets, some of these other great groups that have that same kind of vibe.
Yes.
And it really just, I can put on a Tribe Called Quest anytime and just
absolutely
sit back and go, okay, yeah. And it just makes you feel good because I mean it's such a more positive kind of vibe that they give off.
Yeah, a lot different than what we were hearing back in that day.
Yeah, and if you're a Dave Chappelle fan, I mean you got to thank them for getting him back on television.
Oh yeah,
he was a huge fan of Tribe Called Quest, absolutely. And then he famously walked away from his show on Comedy Central, and everybody's like, "What's going on? This guy's at the height of his powers," and he quit. And he said, anybody who ever asked him, he left that show in like 2005. And then he said, people would ask him all the time, hey, will you come on the show and do this? He's like, no, he declined everything.
Yeah.
And then in 2016, SNL said, we got a Tribe Called Quest as a musical guest. Would you come on and host? And he said, yes.
Yes.
If they're going to be there, I want to be there. And so they got him basically back on TV. And then, of course, he inducted them into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which was pretty
absolutely.
Cool. Yeah.
Which they joined the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame last year. I really wanted to get to that. I couldn't make it. I had a prior engagement. I just couldn't make it.
That's a shame.
I'm still pissed I missed that.
Yeah, well, I'm sure it was incredible, and it's funny too because they're another one of those groups where you hear people. It's the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. What's this rap group doing in the Rock and Roll Hall? Seriously, great music is great music, and what the Rock Hall is supposed to be about is celebrating groundbreaking bands that made an impact. And then I heard somebody say something the other day about some band. I can't believe this band's not in there. I said, why would they be in the of Twisted Sister? I said, even Dee Snider, the lead singer of Twisted Sister, says we don't belong in the Rock Hall of Fame. He said we were a throwaway. We were nothing. We had a couple of hits. Why would we be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? So it was nice to hear him speak sensibly about that.
He's honest. I mean, Twisted Sister, come on.
Yeah, I mean, seriously.
Like 2 of their songs, though, because they played the hell out of them on MTV.
Yeah, we're not going to take it.
Yeah.
And then I want to rock.
I want to rock. Yeah.
But,
First of all, let me give an applause for your wife for introducing you to the greatest rap group of all time.
Yes.
Shout out to her.
Well, she's the disappointment in her is strong with me because she'll say, "I know you've heard this," and I'll tell her, I said, "I don't think I have," and she'll put something on, and I'm like, "No." There's been a couple of times where I'm like, "Oh, you're right, I do know this," but then the majority, I'm like, "No idea," and she just looks at me like, "Where have you been? What have you
been, Tony?"
There's so much music out there, and I'm such a huge fan of so much of it. I get it. Some of that stuff falls through the cracks, you know. You're in a certain point in your life and you're just not there. And so you might miss something great, which I did, but I'm glad that they're in my life now because the Tribe Called Quest.
I totally get it. Just like I am with your favorite group, The Cure. I'm not really familiar, so I totally get it.
The thing about Tribe Called Quest, and as we kind of wrap up the deep dive here, this is a lot of people, and I'm sure you're one of these people, consider the first time they heard this album kind of a turning point in their lives and how they saw music, heard music, what they expected from the hip hop world. And then you think about future acts who are inspired by these guys. Listen to Erykah Badu, listen to The Roots, listen to Outkast, Common, Tyler, the Creator. Pick any of those guys. And you're going to hear, you're like, oh, they love the Tribe Called Quest. You can hear it in there.
Absolutely. They absolutely changed the way I listen to rap music. They changed my taste as far as rap music. Before, of course, like you said, the Public Enemies, the Run DMCs, the LL Cool J's, who I still love, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, sure.
But when I heard them for the first time, my world changed. My musical world just changed.
Those guys carved their names, man, in the wall of hip hop. They just, and it's so sad. I mean, Phife Dawg dying so young. Was diabetes? Was that?
Yeah. He's from diabetes. He was only 45, man. He was only 45.
It's another one of those cases where you think about, man, what more could he have done or would he have done?
Goodness. He was on the last Tribe album, which I have, if you could see over my shoulder here. Okay. The last one released. He didn't get to stick around for the release of it. He wasn't around, unfortunately, but he was on the album. Yeah, it's a sad story.
Smitty's done a lot of finger pointing and shaking at you for not knowing stuff. If you don't have any Tribe Called Quest in your collection,
I got to do better. I got to stop judging. Because I don't know everything and I haven't heard everything. So I'm going to stop judging. But be open, people. Be open to try some new things. Yeah.
And I don't think it's not as much judging for me. I think you're you're like a stern father. It's like, look, you got to get your life together, man. You got to make sure you're listening to good music.
What are you going to do with your life?
Well, and it all comes back to Twisted Sister. We put a nice bow on that. Well, speaking of Twisted Sister, I mean, they might qualify for some people. Talk a little bit about guilty pleasures.
Oh, gosh.
And I think we both should preface this because we've talked about this. Technically, if you really want to break it down, I don't have a guilty pleasure because I like what I like and I don't feel bad about it. And
what's a guilty pleasure, really?
Yeah, and you can judge all you want. But we'll take some things that maybe are, that some people might consider like, wow, you like that?
Or that? Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think you picked specific songs. I just picked a couple of artists.
Okay.
So song number one for you.
Song number one for me. And my wife, she still doesn't get it. She's like, I walk around the house, I sing this song. No reason. It's a great karaoke song. I don't know what I was going through when this went out, so don't judge me, people. Okay, it came out in 1999. The song, which some might consider a guilty pleasure for me, is I Want It That Way by the Backstreet Boys. Okay, there it is. That's my one guilty pleasure.
I get that.
I mean, the song's catchy, man.
It is.
I'm not gonna play it loud in my car or anything.
It's one of those somebody walks by.
But and I don't have the vinyl. I don't have it on vinyl. I don't. I refuse to buy that on vinyl because I'm not a Backstreet Boys fan.
Right.
But that song, man, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is.
You don't have to explain. Some songs, I mean, they call them earworms, the ones that get stuck in your head and you just can't get out of there.
Exactly.
That
I was
makes
singing
sense.
it earlier today for no reason. I
It
was
makes you
cooking
feel
breakfast
good.
and just singing it. Yeah. Because I want it that way. Yeah.
Well, mine, this might be the most classic, and maybe I should have picked somebody different, but it's maybe the most classic guilty pleasure. I've been a fan of this guy's since I was a little kid. I used to hear his songs on WHIO radio out of Dayton, Ohio.
I know that station. Yes. WHIO. Absolutely.
It used to be, kind of an AC easy listening
Yeah.
when I was a kid. I think they became a news station later, but that's when I first fell in love with him. I saw him on TV, and then I found out it was him that sang the American Bandstand theme. And of course, I'm talking about Mr. Barry Manilow.
Look at that hair.
Yeah. And I am a Fanalo through and through. I love this guy's music.
Fanalo. I've never heard that.
Oh yeah, big time fans of Barry Manilow. They call us Fanalos. And a former producer for the radio show that I used to do, he lives out in L.A. And he's also a Fanalo. So he and I would get together all the time and talk about Barry Manilow and stuff. And we'd go to karaoke and sing Barry Manilow.
But is he still alive, Tony?
Yeah, he's still alive.
Okay,
He's still,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
With a lot of surgery.
Okay.
The face looks a little different now, but
a little tight.
Yeah, but he's still got it. I think he still performs in Vegas. He's done a ton of performances in Vegas. I think I was reading the other day he had some kind of record. But the thing about Barry is, except for Bandstand and Copacabana, I really don't want Barry Manilow to sing anything fast. Like the stuff that's up tempo doesn't work for me. I want to hear the ballads, man. Like so, this first greatest hits album, Mandy.
I know that song. Yeah.
Ready to Take a Chance Again. Looks Like We Made It. Can't Smile Without You. Even Now. Trying to Get the Feeling Again. I mean,
he's got some catchy songs. He's got some catchy songs, I admit.
I want Barry to sing songs that make me cry. I want Barry to sing songs that make me think about a past time in my life where I was like, I mean, that's why I listen to Barry Manilow. I'm not trying to hear It's a Miracle.
I don't know that one.
It's not. It's okay. It's okay. But I mean, I don't want to hear him do fast songs.
That Copacabana, that's a song. That's a catchy song.
That's different. Copacabana is absolutely welcome in my home anytime. When it comes on, I turn it up. I'm all about it.
So what's your favorite song by Barry Manilow?
Dude, I don't know, man. That's hard to pick. Okay, the first thing that comes out, I would say, I think Looks Like We Made It, closely followed by a song called Somewhere Down the Road Again. Yeah, that one, it was a hit at the time, but it's not one that gets played a lot anymore. But I mean, again, his ballads, and he had this formula, and he didn't write most of these songs. I mean, he had other songwriters. Well, you figure Mandy, that was his first big hit, and Clive Davis said, we got to find the right song for you.
Right.
And he was like, find the right song. He goes, I'm a songwriter. I write my songs. And Clive Davis, which ironically, the song I Write the Songs by Barry Manilow, he did not write.
Yeah, I remember that song. Yeah.
Yeah. But
he didn't write it?
No. But Clive Davis convinced him, you should open up, accept songs from other people. And he found this song called Brandy by an English guy. And they changed it to Mandy because there's another song called Brandy already on the radio.
Okay.
And anyway, that's
I got to write that in my handy dandy notebook here.
Short version of that story. But anyway, I just love his music. I love his ballads. And I'm not guilty about that at all, but some would consider Barry Manilow a guilty pleasure. I've never seen him live, and I wish I could have seen him live. Yeah. I don't want to see him now.
Making music. He's probably
he is not
dirt, but
I don't want to see 80-year-old Barry Manilow.
Yeah.
I wanted to see this. I want to see the face of an angel singing angelic music. That's what
I can't get to that hair.
I know. That's peak 1970s hair right there, man. All right. So your second guilty pleasure.
So my second guilty pleasure. It's another song where this artist, at the time it came out in 1994, most people considered him, he fell off. Some people say he was a sellout. I don't know. But he released this. He was trying to change his image to become a little, I don't know, tougher. I don't know what he was trying to do. Who knows what he was trying to do. The video was a disgrace. Let me just start. I didn't like the video. I liked the song.
Okay.
Again, we're doing the no judge thing. All right. The song I'm talking about is MC Hammer, Pumps in the Bump. All right. I like the song, Tony.
Okay.
I like the song. I did. It was catchy.
I don't think I remember the video.
Like the girls with the pumps in the bump.
No, I know the song. What was so bad about the video? I don't remember the video.
Well, my man was walking around with cut off the gloves with the fingers cut off.
Oh.
And then he had on a Speedo, and that's it. That's all he had on. That's all he had on, Tony.
That's why you don't surround yourself with yes people. That's why you got to have somebody on your team who can come to you and say, look, Hammer,
come on, Hammer. Really?
This is ridiculous. This is stupid.
Bro.
You look like a fool.
Come on, man.
Don't do this. Please.
But he did it, Tony.
Well, that's a shame.
He did it, but I like the song. Now, again, I wasn't going to play the song in my car, at full blast so people could hear. but I liked the song. It was catchy, and I would find myself singing and rapping along to it. But the video was yeah, that part of the video I wasn't a fan of, but there were some lovely young ladies in the video.
Okay.
I was a young man back then, Tony.
I get it.
I appreciated it.
MTV got me through some times, man. Solid Gold. Remember that show, Solid Gold? Dancers?
Do I?
Dude.
Do I? Absolutely.
Yeah. I was at the peak age to be in front of the TV when Solid Gold was on.
Oh, my
Let's just say I wasn't still in front of the TV by the time the show was over. I had to go to another room. But I'd start out watching Solid Gold. Like 20 minutes in.
Yeah. From Dionne Warwick to Marilyn McCoo.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Good stuff.
And Madam. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
I love Solid Gold.
Are you ready for my second one?
That brings back some memories. I'm sorry.
Speaking of what I was just talking about with Solid Gold Dancers, this young lady kind of fell in. I was older by this time, but this is another guilty pleasure. So I'm not when you think about pop music from the 90s and early 2000s.
Yeah.
I just wasn't into it. I mean, there's a few songs that come on. I'm like, oh, okay, I like that one. That's kind of catchy. But at that time, I was really heavily into alternative rock, and I was still listening to like heavy metal and more R&B. At that point, I was learning about rap and hip hop. So I wasn't really a fan. So I think the first song I heard by this young lady,
I think I know what you're gonna say, Tony.
was on the radio in San Diego, and I was like, oh, this is catchy. I like this. And then like the next song that she released, I was like, oh God, I like this. This is really good. I listen to this on hot rotation. So I'm a fan of Miss Katy Perry. And yes, I do own a couple of albums by Katy Perry. This record, so the first one was I Kissed a Girl. That was the first song I heard by her.
Me too.
And I was like, okay, this is catchy. I like this, and she did what she did. I'm shocking people. I Kissed a Girl.
Yeah, right.
So whatever. I just like the song. But my favorite song off this album is actually Hot and Cold. I love that song. And I love the video. I'll watch out of nowhere sometimes. I'll just pull up YouTube and watch that video.
Okay.
And so this one and then Teenage Dream are the two albums by her that I own. Teenage Dream was a monster. I think she tied Michael Jackson for the most hit singles on one album.
Really?
With that album. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I knew it was a huge album, and I did not own it, but I didn't know.
It's in a rack right over there. I have it close by.
Wow.
But so yeah, and then now the stuff she's been putting out more recently, I don't follow her career, so I haven't listened to that as much. I saw I didn't even know that like whatever this last album she put out was a comeback album. I didn't know she had gone away. I didn't know she had fallen out of favor.
I didn't know she put out a new album.
I mean, it's been a while ago now, quite a while ago now. But the first song came out, and everybody was really giving her a hard time, and I don't remember why. I just remember seeing the video and going, well, she looks pretty good for somebody who's had a baby. Good for her. For anybody. Don't get me wrong. No matter what. But I was like, I think she was in better shape than she was before. And it's so unfair because, guys, we end up getting, dad bod or whatever and have the nerve to say, oh, no, she's never lost that baby weight. Shut up. Anyway, so Katy Perry's my other guilty pleasure.
Okay.
But I wouldn't turn that music. If I was listening to her in the car and somebody walked by, I would allow that to play. I wouldn't even care. I might get a look. Somebody might say,
you'll definitely get a look, Tony. That's okay. We don't care.
Well, and I just want to back up too. And I think you really need to come clean with everybody. You were giving Hammer a hard time for his outfit in that video. We all know that on Friday night at your house, your wife gets you to dress up in that same outfit. And that's what happens. You run around the house in your Speedo and your fingerless gloves. And you guys have yourself a date.
Only twice. It was only twice, though.
But what you do in the privacy of your own home is nobody's business.
Hey, again, we're not judging, Tony.
No
judge zone here.
How much money would it take to get you to wear that outfit?
I'm cheap. Couple $100, I'll do it.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I just found
any records I can buy for a couple $100.
Well, I may start a GoFundMe, and we may, if we raise $250, Smitty will record an episode in the same outfit.
Let me take that back. I mean, it's going to take a lot more money than $200.
What you need to know about me is when that kind of stuff happens, I will absolutely follow through and make it happen.
Yeah. Let me take that back. I'm
be careful,
lying, people. I'm lying. It would take no amount of money to get me to do that.
Not going to do it. Okay. Well, thanks for watching. We really appreciate it. Please make sure you like, subscribe, write us a review, share with your friends, and help us get the word out about this podcast. It's still relatively new.
We appreciate you.
We really do. I can't thank you enough. There's so much content out there to consume, and the fact that you would take any time to watch or listen to this, that means the world to us. It really does. And make sure you keep that constructive criticism coming. If you got stuff you'd like to hear, things you're not so crazy about, let us know what that is.
Yeah, we want to hear it. And remember, no matter the year, no matter the genre, music is the glue. Until next time. Peace.
See you guys.